The book is obviously beloved. Everyone. Neil Gaiman called it, I think, one of the greatest fantasy novels, written in many a long year. What are the pressures in bringing it to the screen? Because you'd imagine it would be quite an undertaking.
I think the main thing was to make sure that it wasn't going to be rubbish.
Sure, that's key, first of all, yeah.
And also do justice to every element of the story and every character as well. We made sure that every character had their arc, and I think hopefully the satisfying thing of watching this show will be that the story does resolve, and every character in there has a journey that you will see them make that journey, and you won't get to the end of the series and go, now I have to watch series 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. This is one story. We tell the whole thing.
Well, as we say, these 7 episodes do sort of exhaust Susanna's original source material, but she has talked about maybe writing a sequel. There are some short stories set in the world, but is this very much intended as a one and done? There's no plans for any follow-up?
No, there's no plans.
No.
I think the way we've addressed that question in the past is as soon as Susanna writes another book, we'll make another series. But it took her 10 years to make this book, so it's a fantastic piece of work, and obviously if we get the chance to spend time in this world again, it would be great, but not at the moment.
And there's a lot of opportunity for that. It's a big world, and there's lots.
It's refreshing to me to think about this as a sort of play, and we do have this source document that so many people, and I'm sure a lot of people here, feel so passionately about. And as you would if you were doing a great play, you serve that and the integrity of that, and not to be kind of capsized by commercial imperatives to sort of doctor the story in a way that's going to provide for another 5 seasons or so on. Which isn't to say that, as Nick says, if Susanna writes a sequel, that I don't know, perhaps Peter would write me a spin-off series. I don't know, but that is not the imperative here. The imperative here is to serve this kind of incredibly rich and textured world, and to do the best possible version of storytelling that. And that's what I think attracted so many people to the project, is that it was something about integrity rather than an opportunity to sort of make a big show.
But one of the things that has come out of the experience, which I'm really pleased about, is that the collaboration between us all on the production was such an amazing experience that we all, I can say categorically, definitely intend to work together in the future as a team, whether it's on Susanna's material or not.
I think that's quite important to stress as well, is that this very much was a collaborative effort, wasn't it? There's no showrunner in a way that people might think. It's very much a team effort, this show.
I don't think we would have been able to make it if it wasn't a team effort, because we needed. It was such a kind of taxing show to make, logistically and in every way, really. We all needed to be on the same page and speaking the same kind of language about it from day one. And otherwise, if we had to have, if anybody had come on board 2 months before we started shooting, we wouldn't have been able to do it, because we only just managed to do it anyway.
And there were times we thought we were never going to be able to do it at all.
I work in the theatre a lot, and I often find that one of the things that's nice about a theatre company is that when you do good work, you're kind of greater than the sum of your parts, because everybody's bringing their A game, and knowing that there's no point. You're not in it for the glamour, you're in it to do good work. And often, in my experience, that can't be true in filmmaking, because there's such a massive enterprise, so much money, there's some hierarchies get in the way. What was unusual about this was to have a sense of a theatre company, a sense that everybody was invited to the table, and that decision making was, like people, as actors, one often is kept outside the kind of decision-making hub, for very good reasons often. But it does mean that you're not able to kind of bring everything that you have available to the table, and these guys really invited everybody in, which I think comes across in the final.
It was like a ginormous ball of herrings. My favourite thing in nature.
Paul, I understand you were a big fan of the book. before this show sort of came on the horizon.
Yeah, I was in love with the book. I was particularly in love with chapter 67, the Hawthorn Tree, and it was. Well, I finally got to meet Toby. I think it was one of those moments. He obviously looked at me and thought, "Well, we'll have to clean him up a bit if we wanted to play Vinculus." Yeah, no, it was. He's a fascinating character, Vinculus, because he's a contradiction in so many ways. He's definitely a charlatan, but he's been touched, and I think he finds giving the prophecies. He finds it quite irritating, but he also gets off on it as well. And he's sort of, there is method in his madness, sort of, sometimes, but...
I think the funniest thing, though, is that Paul kept getting asked to leave the hotel. They wouldn't let him in because they thought he was
I couldn't get breakfast. I kept getting thrown out the hotel every time I tried to walk into the restaurant. That happens usually, anyway.
We were in Leeds!
There's some amazing costumes here. I'm slightly dazzled by the lights, but I can see some...
Is anyone dressed as anyone from
Jonathan Strange Mr Norrell?
I'm going to ask that question.
Moving on.
Next year, Bertie.
Paul as well, I mean, having, you know, people here obviously know from having done Game of Thrones, and you are going to be in the next series of Doctor Who as well, though if we talk too much about that, I think there's some snipers up there and they'll take us out, so no spoilers. But is the fantasy genre, is that one that particularly appeals to you, or is it just coincidence?
I wouldn't say I was a devotee of that world, really. I mean, I think I last watched Doctor Who in 1978. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Yeah, you're a Tom Baker child.
And I've never read Game of Thrones. And I didn't expect to enjoy Game of Thrones, but I did. I think it's about the writing, it's about the storytelling. The thing about Jonathan Strange, it's just the most wonderful story, unlike any other story I've read. And it was on Sunday night, last Sunday night, I watched it with my 12-year-old, my 23-year-old, and my 83-year-old dad, and they all loved it.
And as we saw in that first clip, Nick, the VFX on the show are really quite spectacular. Can you just talk a little bit about some of the challenges in bringing the show to the screen?
Well, obviously people look at it and they go, oh my god, that must have cost an absolute fortune. And look, it wasn't cheap, but it was probably less than a quarter of the cost of a season of Game of Thrones. And so we had to be extremely clever, and that plays into that whole thing about it being a perfect collaboration. With Peter as the writer and Toby as the director and myself as the producer, we became this sort of threesome that actually would work these things out and bat the ideas around a lot. And also Bertie was very involved in these things as well. It was fantastic. So being able to do that and to have a director that goes, well, actually, okay, that's going to be too expensive. So what about if we do this? If we change the focus of that scene over here, and Peter then picking that up and going, yeah, and if we did that, we could add this, that, and the other. We were playing to our best strengths. And I don't think anybody who watches the series will be looking at it and going, oh my god, it's full of compromises. And you can see things like the sand horses are pretty spectacular and pretty amazing. And we try to channel our energies into these moments that really pay off, and then spend a lot of time with these amazing characters, which is almost for free.
You've just written the headline there, producer, director and writer have threesomes.
Yes, sorry about that. It was fun.
Yeah, but we're not doing it again.
That's why there's no series 2. But speaking of visual effects, one of the standout sequences for me in the first episode was when, of course, all the statues spring to life. And Bertie, people might not be aware, but we all know you played Jonathan Strange, of course, but you played a second role in this series. What can you tell us about that?
I wasn't paid for it.
You were not?
I don't know if I feel comfortable talking about it. Yes, the only way that the production, which, as Nick has pointed out, didn't have a lot of spare cash to throw around, the only way that the production would pay for me to be on set on the last day of the UK shoot was if I agreed to be the how would you sort of the kind of gimmick.
The actual words I used was if you dress up as Kermit.
Yeah. So I was the stone bishop who features in episode 1. That was in fact my first appearance.
It wasn't the only way. It's just the only way we told you. Yes.
Yeah, so Bertie spent the last night of the shoot in the UK in
Painted
a full
green.
gimp suit, frogman outfit, with his face painted green with little tracking markers on them, because he gave us a great piece of performance that we could base the animated stone bishop coming to life.
And we gave him a really difficult bit of Latin to learn as well.
Do you know, I have a personal antipathy to behind-the-scenes documentaries, things like that, because the magic of the theatre, it's always a bad idea to look behind the curtain, and it's amazing that people are curious, but I absolutely hate it. When Paul and I did Matilda, people were obsessed with it. I played an older woman in that, and people were kind of obsessed by that transformation. I always said, no, you can't show people that. Anyway, so I had it written into my contract doing this, that I would not be photographed behind the scenes, that would not be published. And the BBC in their wisdom have published a photograph of me as Kermit the Frog. So when Jonathan Strange and Mr Norrell makes hundreds of millions of dollars, I'm coming after the BBC and Nick Hirschkorn personally for everything he owns.
Yes. I would have left the country. I'll be living in Monaco.
It's quite a spectacle. If you haven't seen Bertie in the Kermit suit, I think it's worth Googling. It's definitely worth looking up. Toby, I imagine with a project like this, it's so important to get the casting right. You have such fantastic actors here in Paul and Bertie, but what were the kind of the pressures there in just landing the right people?
I think the main thing was to work with Kaye James, who was our casting director, who I think is the best I've worked with. She's fantastic. She's got a great imagination, great vision for character, and she just put in front of me some of the most talented actors of their generation, I think, and I just, you know, the great thing about this is that they're such vivid characters. They're like Dickensian characters. They really lift off the page. So it was very clear who was right for the part and who wasn't. And everybody who's in it were the people who walked in through the door exactly as that role. And I think Bertie and Paul here are fantastic examples of that. They were, you know, indisputably their character. And they're a country mile ahead of anybody else that we saw. And for every character, there's over sort of 90 characters in the whole show. You know, for every character that we saw about 25 people. It was a huge process and a grueling process. But it was ultimately, I think, we put together a kind of cast a bit like our friends in the north, where you had like Mark Strong and Daniel Craig and Christopher Eccleston in the same cast. You would never get that cast together again now. You couldn't afford to get that cast together. I think we've got the kind of cast in the future. They'll be like, how did you get that cast together? How did you get those guys in the same room? You know, you can't even get their trailers near each other now.
Well, the relationship between Strange and Norrell is so interesting, and it fluctuates so much. Bertie, again, what was it like working on that with Eddie? Because as I say, that relationship does change so much across the course of the 7 episodes.
Well, I mean, it's kind of one of the things. Well, two things happened when I heard that the BBC were going to make this, and my agent rang and said, "You know, do you want to go and take for it?" He didn't know anything about it, and my eyes lit up and started watering. And then I fully expected the scripts to be crap, and they weren't, which was the next most exciting thing that happened to me. And then to hear that. And you know, some months further down the line, or whenever it was, that Eddie was going to be Norrell, and you just felt, yeah, that's a serious heavyweight actor. What my hope for this whole thing was that this holds water. It holds everything you can throw at it, and somebody could have made a really. Somebody could have made this well, but it would be a crime not to make it really well, you know? And so, knowing that Eddie, who's an actor I've long admired, was going to play Norrell was a real excitement. And then, you know, he's the kind of actor who you don't quite know what you're going to get, and that's really great for us actors, because it means that you go in and you live inside a scene, and the scenes that Peter had written, you know, they're good enough. Like, a lot of stuff, frankly, that gets made on TV isn't. It doesn't take everything you throw at it. But these are scenes you can really live inside. You can push around and you can do stuff with. And I mean, that's true of what Toby was just saying about the whole cast. Kind of really A-list in terms of talent cast. People you can really bounce off. People who, intelligent actors with great instinct, and Eddie was at the forefront of that. I mean, I suppose just specifically about the relationship with Strange and Norrell, they're kind of two sides of a coin, aren't they? And they're sort of, one's a kind of embodiment of the Enlightenment, and the other's a sort of romantic figure. And actually, both of those are forces that coexist in an age. And it's kind of quite interesting. Eddie and I are quite different actors in some ways, but I think have more in common than one might imagine. And that's true of Strange and Norrell. So yeah.
And Paul, for Vinculus as well, I understand you had a slightly unusual inspiration in terms of how you played it. Not just the book, but...
Well, Toby, you first suggested Iggy Pop. Yeah, Iggy Pop was a good starting point.
I mean, what aspects of Iggy Pop do you feel you brought to the party?
Throw yourself around and have no concern about personal safety. Sure.
Okay. Bertie was talking there about, it would have been very easy to make this a certain way, but you guys have really put your heart and souls into this. There's been sort of talk previously that this Strange and Norrell could have been a movie. I mean, do you guys think, any of you can answer this really, do you guys think that it could have ever worked in that format?
I don't think so. I think it's made for telly. I think it could have been ruined in the cinema. I think now, the lifespan of a movie is sort of 2 weeks, and then it's on DVD, and the cinema version is really an advert for the DVD. And most cinema is landfill. This is the way it was meant to be seen, and collectively, the way that families can watch television together. I think it's fantastic.
Yeah. When I first read the book, I was reading it not thinking I'm looking to make a television series or a movie. I've worked in films and television before. When I read the book, it just screamed out of being multi-part, multi-episodic piece. And I thought it would be 6 hours, and as we've told quite a few people, when we got down to it, it ended up having to be 7 to fit it all in. And we've cut a lot of stuff out. We've had to leave a lot of stuff out, like the footnotes and the various meandering stories that go in directions that you really enjoy within the book. But we've had to stay very focused on those characters. I mean, Peter can talk more about that, but it really couldn't have lived in any other medium. And I don't think the medium was right to accept it even 5 or 6 years ago. It's really come of its own in the last 5 years.
I think the trailer, I remember when you showed me the trailer, I don't think I hadn't seen the trailer that exciting in the cinema for 10 years. And that was a real moment.
Peter, how was the adaptation process? Because obviously there is so much rich detail in the book that inevitably you had to lose some of it to adapt.
Well, basically, I think whenever I'm adapting anything, I try and make the experience of watching it kind of the same kind of, to give it the same kind of feel and make it the same kind of imaginative experience as reading a book. And what that process is basically is taking the whole book to pieces and then building it up again as a piece of drama, but trying to keep the tone and the things that people kind of most cherish about it. And a lot of people look at it and say it's a very faithful adaptation, and it isn't. It's not a linear kind of exact telling of that story, but I take it as a great compliment, and we should all be very proud that we've made something that feels like a faithful adaptation of the book when it actually isn't.
Were you left to your own devices in a certain sense? Was Susanna happy to kind of hand it over to you and say, you guys know what you're doing, do with this as you will?
I think so. I mean, she was very, we didn't have a lot to do with her before we'd kind of got to a stage where we felt that the scripts were ready, and then she wrote us a very, very nice letter when we started warning us not to get involved with magicians. And I think we've all had cause to reflect upon the wisdom of that ever since. But no, she's been extremely supportive, and I think, you know, I don't want to speak for her, but I think she really loves the series, and it's been a nice experience for her.
So was that real magicians? You didn't want real magicians
She
and
didn't
consultants? Or?
She specifically didn't want us to get involved with Jonathan Strange and Mr Norrell, as she finds them very vain and ungrateful people.
I think we may have one more clip from tomorrow night's episode, if you would like to see that. Would you like to see that?
Yes!
No, that's good enough. That's good enough. All right, let's roll the second clip from tomorrow night's episode.